All right. Well, hello, everyone. I'm really happy to have you all here. This is the Get to Know Your IBPA Member Benefits webinar series. My name is Christopher Locke. I'm the IBPA Director of Membership and Member Services. And this particular series, we're really excited. We're going to do an in-depth look at Eloquence on Alert. It's a really great one of our newer benefits. So we have the Firebrand Technologies Director of Sales and Education, Joshua Tell, who's going to tell us all about it. Joshua, take it away.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen and walk through Eloquence on Alert and explain to you guys what it is. So I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. I will say, as we're going along, guys, if you have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat or into the Q&A or whatever it is, I guess the chat, and let me know. And Christopher will jump in and ask me those as we're going, or just save them to the end and we'll cover them at the end as well. Um, just to give a little background and tell you a little bit about Firebrand Technologies and the Firebrand Group. So Firebrand has been around for over 35 years. We help publishers with a variety of publishing needs and capabilities, the things that you're working on a daily basis. On the Firebrand Technologies side, which is the group that I work for, the company I work for, we have title management solutions. We have Eloquence on Demand, which is our Onyx metadata delivery service. We send out product data to retail partners for publishers. Eloquence on Alert that we're talking about today. Flight Deck, which is an EPUB testing tool that'll test your EPUB files and make sure that they meet all of the requirements of retail partners and accessibility and things like that. Flywheel, which is a backlist service, marketing service for mid-size and larger publishers. And then our sister companies, NetGalley and Supado. As Christopher mentioned before, Supado and NetGalley are related to Firebrand. They're all part of the Firebrand group. And Booktrovert is the new service from NetGalley that I'm sure you've all heard about. We're very excited about that. So if you've got questions about these, I can talk about those more at the end as well. But today we're here to talk about retail analytics, and I want to talk to you about what is retail analytics, how do they work, details that you should be looking for when you're trying to figure out what's going on out in the retail space, and how to approach your own retail analytics process using Eloquence on Alert. And so let's talk about what retail analytics are first. Retail analytics is a data analysis that you can use to see what's happening to your products out in the marketplace, to collect retail data and see what's going on. What are the trends that are happening? What are the outcomes I should be trying to predict for the future? How can I make better and more profitable data decisions based on data of what's really happening to my titles in the marketplace? If you may not know this, but on any given day, every single day, today, yesterday, tomorrow, about 33% of the metadata that is sent out into the marketplace by publishers is not displayed as intended. And that's data based on our own assessments of all the data that we collect out in the marketplace. Online retailers will regularly make changes that are unapproved, things that you don't expect, to the data that you're sending, things like the title, the author, the price, the cover image, the pub date. There are things that are wrong in your data out in the retail space. Sometimes it's because it's out of date because you changed something and a retail partner didn't update it properly. Sometimes it's because they got a data feed from some other source, Bowker or Ingram or somebody else that isn't you directly, that will make an update to some data and it changes it from what you originally intended. So these changes to your data can affect your sales. This is when you have problems, though. If you have things like your purchase abilities are removed, where you can't add something to the cart anymore, or book covers are missing, or book covers are poorly displayed, or the wrong book cover is included, those are problems. They affect the ability of you to sell your books properly. You can also have issues with things like titles being out of stock or being said that they're out of stock when they're not really out of stock, or fake reviews or pricing errors or product page just kind of disappears. These are the issues we see constantly, and these issues will impact the sale of your book. So why is retail compliance auditing important? How do you audit your retail pricing, your retail title record, your retail information about your books? And really, why it's important is because it costs you sales. So let me tell you a little story. This is a true story, I should say. But once upon a time, there was a book publisher And that book publisher was sending out brand new pricing updates for their hardcover books. So this publisher had a bunch of hardcovers, hundreds of hardcover books, and hundreds of ebooks and print and paperback books. And so they had all of these different books out in the marketplace. And they said, we need to update the pricing for our hardcovers. We're going to send out a price update and increase the price a little bit for our hardcover books. When they did that, Amazon instead imported all of that data, all those price changes onto the paperback titles. Now, if you know the difference between hardcover pricing and paperback pricing, that means every paperback book now had, you know, a $10 increase overnight. The cost was much more expensive for paperbacks. The hardcover pricing remained unchanged. That didn't actually adjust the hardcover pricing. This wasn't a problem with the publisher's data. This was a problem with how the data was applied at the retail partner. And so all of their paperback versions, the titles, they halted sales. They began going to third-party sellers. Now, no longer is the publisher selling the book, but the third-party sellers are selling the book because their prices were significantly lower. And the publisher was in a tizzy, like, what do I do? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How am I supposed to even know this is happening? The great thing is that because they were monitoring their titles in Eloquence on Alert, they were able to catch this problem within 24 hours and it had little effect on their sales. If they hadn't been watching their titles in the marketplace, then they would have never have been able to actually catch the issue in the first place, go fix the issue with the retail partner, and get their titles back up for sale and stop having them be sold by third-party sellers. So this was a big issue, but if they had, you know, they were able to catch it on time because they were using Eloquence on Alert to do their tracking. So I have a couple of questions for you. How do you currently monitor your product pages in the marketplace on retail websites? Do you manually search for them? I know a lot of independent publishers who do this, where you pull up an Amazon page for each of the books that you have out there, and you'll kind of look at them every once in a while and kind of pull it up maybe once a week or once a month or once every quarter, and you just kind of look at the product page and see and make sure it looks okay. Do you routinely monitor them? That's the question. How often do you go and look at those product pages and ensure that the data is correct? Do you have an employee on your team or a department within your company that's regularly tasked with going and ensuring that the product data is being accurately reflected on the website? And if not, do you have a plan in place to accomplish this? I think a lot of times retail partners just make changes, right? So they don't actually necessarily think about your data. They're thinking about whatever data they happen to be getting. So you as a publisher have to take the opportunity to, you know, the impetus to actually go and do that work to go see what's happening to your titles in the database in the retail landscape. The problem is when you get a lot of titles, this becomes more difficult, right? So if you have a lot of titles, ebooks and print paperback books and hardcover books and audiobooks, and you have to go to all these different product pages and look at them on a regular basis and make sure that they're correct and make sure nothing changed, that can be difficult. And as you grow as a company, it becomes even more and more difficult. What's interesting is that, you know, I'm talking about online retail auditing, retail marketplace auditing, but there's also a physical auditing process that you might have heard of before as well. This is actually, I love telling this story because I think it exemplifies kind of how retail auditing can actually make an impact on things. If you're familiar with Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast is an online personality, YouTube personality, who is pretty well known for like giving away lots of money and doing all this kind of crazy games and stuff on his YouTube show. But he also has a chocolate company. He decided to make the Beast bars his own brand of chocolate, just like Hershey's. And he got a deal with Walmart to sell them in Walmart. And he started getting complaints from his followers about his chocolate bars being broken. They'd go to the store and then want to look at the, you know, chocolate, buy a chocolate bar, and it would just be broken into pieces. And he went to a Walmart one time and looked himself, and it, you know, the chocolate aisle. I'm sure you've all been on the candy aisle, but there was a section on the candy aisle where his bars were supposed to be displayed. And when he walked in and looked at it, he was like, "Oh my goodness, they're all over the place. These chocolate bars are falling out of their boxes. They're landing on the floor. There's all this other stuff going on." He couldn't figure out the why. He didn't know why it was happening. And so he actually paid $100,000 per day for auditors to go into every Walmart in the country and look at the chocolate aisle, look at the candy aisle, look at his bars, take pictures of the bars, and try to figure out what was going on. Why is this so messy? Why were the bars breaking? He even paid some people to go in because Walmart wouldn't give him tapes of all of the aisles so he could see what was actually happening. He paid people to put fake chip bags on the aisle across the aisle with cameras in them. So watching his candy bars on the aisle and just to see what was going on. And he watched the video and was like, figuring out what was going on. Come to find out it was a manufacturing issue. It was how he had manufactured the bars and manufactured the boxes that made it easy for them to fall out of the boxes, fall on the floor, and break. And so he had to go, fix the manufacturing process. But that's retail auditing. That's a real physical retail auditing. But your books, most of your selling most of your books online. So most of your online, especially for online sales on Amazon, you want to be able to pay attention to what's going on in that marketplace. And while you're not going to pay $100,000 a day to go and watch those titles, you can pay a little bit of money and go watch those titles with Eloquence on Alert. So let's talk about what Eloquence on Alert actually is. Eloquence on Alert is an interactive platform for book publishers that regularly monitors data that's out in the marketplace and being displayed by retailers online. You can create alerts or reports that are sent to you that are automatic that show you vital data issues and problems, things that can negatively or positively impact your sales and your discoverability of your books. So Eloquence on Alert has monitored tens of thousands of products every single day for 7 years. Actually, I think now it's 8 years. We think we just passed the threshold on that again. So here's what we found over the years, though. There's lots of data that we've collected over the years to kind of help you as a publisher understand what's going on with your titles. The big thing we see, very big thing we see, is missing buy buttons. On any given day, about 3% of titles out in the marketplace that we track are missing a buy button. A missing buy button can have a huge impact on your sales. And it could be because there's a stock issue. It could be because Amazon just didn't, something happened in their system and it glitched or whatever. But lost buy buttons are actually impacting publishers around the world in massive ways. Every single day, about $58,000 is lost just based on this one thing. And if you think about it, it's a small percentage, but there's a big profit loss. The entire industry loses about $1 billion in sales every year from titles that are just the buy button is missing. There's no buy button on the page. Another thing that Eloquence on Alert will track for you is missing cover images or cover images that aren't correctly defined. They're not the right cover image and things like that. So we're watching for cover image issues, and we found that average sales of books with cover image are almost double those without. So if you have a cover image, you're going to do better with sales. If a cover image is missing, you could cut your sales in half or even more. On any given day, we also find nearly 20% of publisher sales are lost to third-party sellers. If you have a problem with third-party sellers taking over the buy box for your books, that's something you need to pay attention to. So we're watching for that, and we're finding about 20% of book publisher sales are lost every single day. And then also on the third-party seller front, there's a monopoly kind of in effect. The top 30 third-party sellers make up about half of the buy button wins. All of the other third-party sellers make up the other half. So there's tens of thousands of third-party sellers on Amazon, and third-party sellers will sell your books as new. And if they're sometimes they get stock from Ingram or they get stock from other distributors, and they will sell your books just like they're selling them in their own bookstore. They can be taking sales from you directly. So it's really important to try to, if you can, control the buy box and ensure that you're the publisher of record, the vendor of record for that title. There's a lot of other stuff we can do in Eloquence on Alert to help you track your data, but I want to switch over right now to a live demo and talk a little bit about how the system actually works and explain some of the features of the application. And then we'll talk about pricing, which I think you're going to love. It's going to be great. It's going to be easy to see how the pricing can work for you. So Eloquence on Alert is tracking your titles in the marketplace. One of the things you can do is you can choose how frequently do I want a title to be tracked. On your front list titles, your most important books, you're probably going to want to track them on a daily basis or at least a weekly basis. So at least once a week or once a day, you want to have the data for that book being collected and then put into the system and able to be seen in conjunction with the reporting. For other titles, if you've got a big backlist, let's say you've got a couple hundred titles, you may not want to track everything every single day or even every week. You can do monthly or quarterly or even annual reporting, where just every once in a while, you're going to see that book is going to be collected, data is going to be collected, and you'll be able to see it in the report and see if something is really wrong with it. For publishers that have a couple hundred titles, that's going to be probably monthly. For publishers that have tens of thousands of titles, you might want to put some quarterly or even annually because there's a very big backlist and you're probably selling 3 or 4 copies of those those books over the course of a year, but you still want to make sure the data is actually correct on those titles. For every single title that we collect data on for you, we're pulling that data into the database and we're creating reports to help you very quickly jump in and see what's going on with your titles. And there's a lot of dashboard reports in here that are quick and easy to jump into and kind of filter things through. So let me show you an example of this. Let's say I want to look at cover images and I want to see, do the ebooks that I have out there in the world, do the cover images on those ebooks match the cover image that I'm sending out to my retail partners? So I can go into this report for cover image differences, and I can filter a couple of things. I want to filter first by format, and then I also want to ignore the placeholder images. Sometimes, Goodreads and even Barnes& and Noble will show these placeholder images instead of the actual images. I'm going to ignore that for now. I also want to get rid of the kind of small differences. I don't care about really small differences or even medium or large. Just show me if something is really big. There's a really big difference here. And maybe I even want to filter and just show me in the Amazon US. I don't care about Barnes& and Noble right now or Amazon UK or other sites I might be searching against. So now you can see here, I'm looking at a list of the products that have a cover image difference that's extremely large, some big cover image difference between what I sent out and what is currently available on Amazon. So you can see here this Ghost in the Schoolyard. The cover image that I'm sending out looks like this, and the cover image that is actually on Amazon looks very different. Same thing for this Capitalism and Freedom. Now, you might think, that's crazy. That's a really big deal. And you're right. That's a really big deal if your cover image isn't correct. But sometimes what cover image is out there is not under your control very much. You can push it out and try to get the retailer to change it or whatever. Which ones of these cover images, if I've got a whole bunch of these cover images I need to deal with, and there's I think 295 cover images in my system, ebook cover images that are incorrect. I need to know which ones. I've got 5 minutes today. I don't have a ton of time to go fix these issues, but I need to know which ones are most important. We've added an impact score to each of our reports. The impact score will let you sort based on the impact that book could have to your bottom line. This is mostly based on things like the sales rank of the book and trying to help you kind of understand how the sales rank works and other things like that. So we're looking at that impact. What kind of impact will it have? Well, this book by Milton Friedman, this is a pretty good selling book. I should go and try to get this cover image fixed because this could have a much bigger impact on my sales than a title that is much less important. So that's the kind of thing you can do in here and very quickly jump into any of these reports on the dashboard and see exactly what's going on. Let's go look at the price differences report. So this is a report that shows me where the list price of my book and the sale price of that book on retailers is different and how different it is. What's the percentage of difference? So you can see this 24 Hours to Change the World. It's a paperback book. The list price is $14.99, but it's selling right now on christianbook.com for $8.66. That's a pretty big difference. It's a 42% discount off of the list price of the book. Now that's actually probably pretty close to my, percentage discount that I give to that retailer, the sales discount they have. But if I sort based on the difference, you can see some other instances here. Here's an ebook that's supposed to sell for $8. It's actually on sale for free. It's not, it's giveaway on the Amazon store. Maybe I intended for that. Maybe I didn't. I need to go double check and make sure that's actually what it should be. I could also filter this again. So let me ignore my ebooks. Let's just do hardcovers and we'll keep it sorted by difference. You can see here again, another christianbook.com where the $17.99 is the list price, but it's selling for $208 at Christian Book. Or here's one on Amazon that's selling for 64% off. These are the kinds of things you want to pay attention to because in some cases, Amazon obviously they do cut rate deals. They will discount some book because they want to push a lot of it out of their warehouse or whatever. And they're going to pay you still based on the list price, regardless of what they're selling it for to the consumer. So in some cases, you might want to push this and actually, hey, if they're going to take a cut, that's okay by me. I'll go do some free marketing, do some marketing to kind of push the book as well and let people go buy it at that lower price because I'm still going to get paid based on the list price. There might be other circumstances where you want to go the other direction. You want to say, what in the heck? This book is selling on Amazon for $42 when it's actually only supposed to be for 27. This is the example I gave earlier. You probably want to go look at that and say, what in the heck is going on? Why is my book priced higher than the list price on Amazon? So these are the kinds of things you can do with these kinds of reports, these dashboard reports in Eloquence on Alert. There's a bunch of other features in here, but I also want to show you very quickly how you can go into the daily reporting or the weekly or monthly or annual reporting, all of these different reporting pages, and you can filter and you can find these issues on your own. You can create your own custom reports if you want. So I can come in here and look at the products. I've got 428 titles that I'm collecting data every single day on. They're in my daily collection. I can filter this list of 428 titles any way I want. I could filter it based on format and say, you know what, I just want to track paperback titles. I don't care about everything else. So I'm gonna go ahead and shift click on all of these, get rid of the, come on, don't, there we go. Hit the select all button. Let's see if I click the right thing. I'm just going to search on paperbacks. And then I can come down here and I can search based on status. I say, you know what? I actually just want to see anything that's active. I don't necessarily need to see things that are out of stock or out of print. I know that they're already out of stock and out of print. I'm sending out that data in my Onyx file or in my metadata file. I can also filter based on some other details about the book itself, like the publisher list price and other stuff like that. But I also can use all of the criteria that Eloquence on Alert is searching against to create a search for myself. So I can say I'm looking at paperback books that are active that are not found on any of these sites. Maybe I don't want all of these. Maybe I just want to say, you know what, let me get rid of these and I'll say Amazon, Canada, US, and UK. Those are the sites I care about. So in the most recent data collection, any title that is not found that is a paperback book and that is active. So I hit my update search and I can see I've got two titles that are missing on one of those sites. So in this case, it's Amazon UK. There's no page on Amazon UK for this book, Eat That Frog, and there's no page here on Amazon Canada for that book. So I can see very quickly, I need to go look at those pages, look at those sites and see what's going on. Why is my book not visible, not available in those stores? So that's the kind of thing you can do. And then if this is something you care about, something you want to track for the future, you want to have an alert, once you run the search, once you set up any of these searches, you can just come over here and create an alert. Give it a name of some kind, enter some notes about it, show it on your dashboard, and now you've got an alert. And every day you'll get an email from the system that gives you a list of all the alerts that you have in the system that you're subscribed to. And then you can see if those alerts have created any differences. And then the My Alerts page can show you all of the alerts that are in the system that you and your team have all set up. This is a great thing too. Everybody on your team can have a login. There's no extra cost for as many logins as you need. Everybody can set up their own alerts and subscribe to alerts that other people have created. So I can see in here that, you know, there's some alerts that I've already got in the system. This is one where a missing buy button. I'm looking for any title where there's a missing buy button on Amazon, US, Canada, or UK, Apple, Barnes and Noble, and other stores. And I want to see which ones are missing a buy button. In my case, there's 72 titles that are missing a buy button. The product page is there, but there's no button to buy. Two of those titles are new, meaning they just got added in the most recent collection, and two of them fell off, meaning it's no longer missing. If I go look at this report, I can see, show me just the ones that were added. Here's the two titles that now don't have a missing buy button. And I want to go in and look and see what is going on with this title. Why is it missing a buy button on the retail stores? So you can see it's missing a buy button on Amazon UK. It was there yesterday, but it's no longer there today. So now I need to go look at the product page and see what's going on and try to investigate. Maybe there's a data issue. Maybe the retailer took it down. There's some other reason. So this is the kind of thing you can do in Eloquence on Alert. Track all of these things, be able to set up alerts about the titles in the marketplace, be able to see what's going on, and not have to worry that your titles are going to be broken in the future. So that's the Eloquence on Alert system. Let me show you something else that's really cool that I love about Eloquence on Alert. If you're the kind of person who actually does go on a regular basis and look at product pages for your books, I want to go pull up the Amazon page, the Barnes and Noble page, and see, excuse me, and see what's going on. Does the title actually look correct? Something you can do in Eloquence on Alert is pull up any list of titles. So I've got a list of all of my daily collection, but I could just dump in a list of ISBNs if I wanted to, or run a search of some kind and pull up a list of however many titles I want. And then over here on the right-hand side, there's a button that says Site Explorer. If you click on that, it's going to open two windows. On the left-hand side is the list of titles that you have in Eloquence on Alert. And on the right is the live page on Amazon or Amazon UK or Canada or Barnes and Noble or bookshop.org or christianbook.com, whatever it is, all these different sites that we're tracking data for, you can see all of these pages and you can go one by one, just hit next title, cycle through, go to the next title, cycle through, and keep cycling. So you don't have to open hundreds of tabs in your browser anymore just to be able to see all of the all the things that are going on. Go look at those product pages. So this is a great way of tracking your titles in the marketplace, having a lot of kind of clarity about things, and knowing what's going on with your products. It's so important to be able to do that. Okay, I've been talking a lot. I do want to kind of finish up here. Let me switch back over and go through some things here, jump on that. Let's go here. You can rest easy with Eloquence on Alert. IBPA members get a 10% discount on the Eloquence on Alert service, which is already really very cheaply priced. It's not expensive to track all of your titles. Let me show you how you can do this actually. If you go to the Eloquence on Alert website, which I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump this in the chat. Let me put a link in there so you guys can go there yourselves. But just eloquenceonalert.com is the website. If you scroll down just a little bit, you can see here a little box where you can put in the numbers of titles that you want to track on whatever cadence you like and see what the cost would be for that. You can tell right now 25 titles a day on a daily basis is only $49 a month. But I could add 250 on a weekly basis for only an extra 35 a month, or add 375 on a monthly basis for only $14 a month. So you can add as many titles as you want in these larger kind of less frequent categories, less frequent cadences, and very quickly be tracking hundreds or even thousands of titles without having to do it all on a daily basis. So you can play with these numbers and see what's going to work for you and see what the total cost is going to be, and then hit the calculate your cost to go to the page where you pick which partners do you want to track, which retail partners do you want to track your data on. There's some upcharges, 25% extra cost for the UK and Canadian pricing, but it's a great way of calculating your cost and seeing everything without even having to without having to talk to anybody on my team. Also, if you're interested and just like, man, this is amazing. I want to get a free trial of this. I want to play around with it for a month and see if it works for me and track my data. If you email me, I would be more than happy to give you a 4-week free trial. We'll track 25 of your titles in the Eloquence on Alert system. We'll track it for you for 4 weeks and let you see all the data. And then you can sign up right after that and continue tracking from that point forward. So if you're interested in doing that, you can email me directly and I'm happy to do that. IBPA members get a 10% discount. There's a link that you click on in the IBPA website on the page where you can, on the benefits page where it'll take you to a special sign up page where you can sign up. But if you're going to do the free trial, you can just email me directly, and I'm more than happy to get you signed up for the free trial, and then we'll apply the discount to your account as well that way. Okay, it's a lot of talking. Christopher, any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for all that. Definitely some really interesting things to track and helpful for publishers to be able to track this so easily. So, one question is, how are publishers getting their titles into Eloquence on Alert?
Yeah, so one way is through an Onyx feed. So if you have an Onyx distributor of some kind or you have access to an Onyx feed, that's the easiest way. You just set up Firebrand, set up our Eloquence on Alert system as a destination for that data. And anytime you make changes to the Onyx feed, the Onyx data, it'll automatically just be pushed into our system and update what we're seeing. So if you're changing prices or you're changing other stuff in your system, it'll automatically update in ours. If you don't have Onyx, if you're a smaller publisher, you're not doing Onyx yet, you're still working on that kind of thing, every product page that you have in the system has a little edit button in here where you can edit that data directly. So if you need to change the status of the book or change the list price of the book or something else, you can do all of that detail in here, all that changes in here.
And then some people are wondering, so, you can change the frequency daily, weekly, and all that. But they're wondering, is it real time? Like if something, like let's say you're doing daily or weekly, if something changes, like are you getting an alert the moment something changes, or how does it work that the publisher is being alerted? Oh my gosh, this thing just happened.
Yeah, so the daily collection, every day, every night, technically, we start the data collection overnight. And so you'll see on every product page what time and date was the last collection of this book. So you can see this one was collected at 5 o'clock, 5:47 this morning Eastern time is when this one was collected from Amazon and other sites. The previous collection happened on the previous day, but in the evening. So it was kind of, again, it's kind of a random association. We don't want to collect it always at the same time every day because of the way Amazon does its stuff. We want to make sure you're not every night at 10 o'clock, this title is collected because sometimes something will change on the title at 1 in the morning instead. So we want to give it a little bit of randomness for that purpose. But you'll see that it's essentially, if it's daily collection, at least once every 24 hours, it will be collected, and you'll see the results. And then once every 24 hours on a regular schedule, usually in the early morning, an email will be sent to your email address with any of the alerts that you're subscribed to. So you can come to the here and just check off the subscription button to check subscribe to the alerts, or create a new alert and subscribe to it that way. So whatever ones you're subscribed to, you'll get an email usually in the early morning that will tell you collection has finished for your titles, and here's a list of the alerts that you have subscribed to.
And, this may be outside the purview of Eloquence on Alert, but of course, someone sees problems. So then immediately they're like, what do I do to solve the problem? So are they just doing separately contacting Amazon or Barnes and Noble, or is there something within Eloquence on Alert that kind of helps them to contact the people?
There's nothing within Eloquence on Alert yet. We are planning to add some features in the future where you'll be able to have the system generate for you an email, so it says the right thing in the email that will get the attention of the contact at Amazon or whoever else. So we're using the right language that they expect, so it's easier to know what to say. But you'll still push your data out the same way you always do, contact your vendors the same way you always do. What we would recommend typically is, depending on the type of issue, sometimes it's just fixed by pushing your metadata again, pushing in another Onyx file, or going to the retail store and making sure the data is correct on their side, in your backend portal or whatever you're using. That's often going to be the issue, and sometimes it may even be a deeper issue that you uncover. For example, I talk to publishers sometimes who they notice that a price is incorrect, or a book description is wrong, or the title cover image is incorrect, and they go and they investigate an Amazon system and they find out they're not actually considered the vendor for the book. Ingram is, or some other partner is, somebody else is, and the data is their other data is overwriting the publisher's data. In those situations, you may need to actually open a ticket and say, "Hey, I'm the official vendor for this book. I should have priority when it comes to data things." Those are the kinds of things you might find as a result of looking into an issue you see in Eloquence on Alert.
Okay. So, you're an expert on metadata, and of course, this is all linked to that. So some people are wondering about some tips. So for example, if you have multiple formats, it's great that Eloquence on Alert does track the different formats. That's great. They're just wondering, for example, in terms of connecting, your different formats, so that if someone goes on, let's say, Amazon, and making sure that the audiobook version, the ebook version, and all that, they're all linked. Is there something they can do to ensure that any different retail site makes sure that all the links to all the different formats of that one book are connected?
We don't currently have tracking for that. So
Mm.
you're talking about like here on the Amazon page, here's the
Mhm.
Kindle and the paperback linked together. We
Mhm.
don't currently track that detail, but it is on our update list.
Okay.
And you can, I will say, you can track all of those formats independently in Eloquence on Alert, and you do want to typically, because data may change on one of them and not the other. So treat them as independent products in the system.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, getting Eloquence on Alert helps publishers to keep track of all this stuff. But do you have any tips about like the root cause in terms of like, just is there something that publishers can be doing with their metadata or the way they push it out in general that will avoid these types of issues continuing to happen?
Yeah, it depends on, in some cases, it depends on the size of the publisher and how data is being delivered.
Mhm.
In other cases, it's really just kind of the way the industry works. So let's talk top down. The publishing industry works, the way the publishing industry sends data is places like Amazon, retail partners like Amazon, will take data from multiple sources. Amazon, for example, will take data from the publisher themselves, from Ingram, from Bowker, from the Library of Congress, and even from other sources that are public sources or other ways they collect data. And then they give a priority behind the scenes as to which data they expect to be the best data or the most appropriate data. But sometimes that doesn't actually, necessarily work the way you would hope and say the publisher is the most important. So this is where you get into sometimes the answer is I need to open a ticket with the retail partner and tell them, please make sure my data is the data you're using as the main source. But that doesn't necessarily fix it all. So what a lot of publishers will do, especially larger publishers, is they will send out mass product updates, mass product data for all of their products once a month to major publishers. If you have an Onyx distributor, if you have an Onyx company, or you're using Eloquence on Demand, our Onyx metadata service, then you can send out a monthly full feed to all of those partners that just says, here's all of the products that we have, every single title, every single ISBN. We're going to give you a full list of everything and just dump everything to them. And a lot of retail partners will say, great, I now know this is the data source I want to ingest every month. And they'll take that full feed. So even if a title didn't have some other change during the course of that month, if another source gave them some data, your new data update will override whatever that other update was. So sometimes that's a way. It's unfortunately just a little bit of kind of rock'em sock'em robots happening in the industry and the data side. Sometimes you just have to have a bigger punch, and so every month you push out a data feed. Eloquence on Alert will help you catch the issue. So if you're a smaller publisher, you're not sending Onyx data, you don't have an Onyx feed, you've got 20 titles and you don't really have a need for it yet, that's great. Eloquence on Alert will watch the titles for you and then alert you when something has changed so that then you know to go and update the systems. You can also use the Site Explorer just once a month yourself and go look at those 20 titles. It's not a lot to kind of cycle through and double check them as well to see if there's any visual differences that you might want to go impact as well.
So, at the beginning, we talked about the various different member benefits with Firebrain Technologies. I
Yep.
just want to make sure we want people to take advantage of all of them, but they might be a little confused about the differences between them and why you would pick one over the other and
Yep.
or how they work together. Obviously, we're going to do a whole other webinar about Title Management Lite and Eloquence on Demand. I know there's a lot to talk about, but maybe like a brief understanding.
Sure. Yeah, totally. There's obviously the NetGalley benefit is something that IBPA manages for IBPA publishers. They're part of that program. So you guys, if you don't know about NetGalley, I'm sure Christopher and the team over there can tell you more about the benefits specifically there, and add Booktrovert into that as well because Booktrovert is very tightly connected to NetGalley. Let's talk about the Firebrand Technologies side of things. So the three services that we offer that have IBPA member benefits are Title Management Lite, Eloquence on Demand, and Eloquence on Alert. And I'm going to start with Title Management Lite. Title Management Lite is a workflow management tool for small and mid-sized publishers. It's intended to be the kind of place where you as a publisher, especially if you've got a team of 3, 4, 5 people, or even more than that, where you can manage the flow of the process, everything from your acquisition planning through the editorial planning, your scheduling, how am I going to get this book from the time we acquired it all the way to the pub date, all that scheduling that needs to happen. Marketing projects, if you need to create a print catalog, there's capabilities for that in there. It's really intended to be a good kind of replacement for generic scheduling tools and spreadsheets and things that a lot of publishers do. So as you grow as a publisher, you've got 3, 4, 5, 10 people on your team. Title Management Lite is a great solution for that. There's a 5% discount for IBPA members off of the $10,000 setup fee, so it'll save you $500 on the setup fee. And then there's ongoing discounts as well because Title Management Lite is tied into Eloquence on Demand. Eloquence on Demand is our Onyx metadata delivery service. Firebrand has been doing Onyx metadata delivery since before Onyx was an official format. We were the first company to send an Onyx file from a publisher to a retailer. So we've been doing metadata from the very beginning. We know the systems really well. We know how things work, and we have really good relationships with the partners to get the data where it needs to go. So you have your relationship with your partners. We send the data into your account at your partners in whatever format that partner needs. If they need Onyx 2 or Onyx 3 or Excel or custom XML or some other kind of detail, All of that is handled by our team behind the scenes. You don't have to ever look at an Onyx file again or look at a spreadsheet or duplicate your effort. I'm creating 5 spreadsheets every single week for every one of these partners. You don't have to do any of that again. That's what Eloquence on Demand does. It's tied in directly into Title Management Lite. So you're doing all the work in title management, managing your product data. You can send your data out. If you don't need Title Management Lite and you just want the metadata service, Eloquence on Demand is available as a standalone service. And whether you're using it with Title Management Lite or not, you still get a 10% discount every month as an IBPA member on the Eloquence on Demand. And then Eloquence on Alert, we talked about before, 10% discount on that as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I do hope everyone checks each one out. They all have different things they provide. Publishers, as you just saw, Eloquence on Alert, it really can help save you, or make you money if your titles aren't, on properly on different sites. So, reach out to Joshua if you have any specific questions. But if not, then you can just in the chat, I put a bunch of the links there. We really appreciate you all at Firebrand, Joshua, for providing these benefits. We're excited. Most of these are brand new, other than the NetGuy one, so that's really cool. So thanks again for providing this, explanation, and we really appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you for checking it out.
Yeah, thank you.